champ now. Yes, I didn't say. What are you looking so sad about, champ?
I'm surprised. I'm really insulted. That's not right, what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talk. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talk about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, one time during my career, I bombed a Formula One tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
Well, you've been on the tour. Oh.
What's happening, my people? It's Cat Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Salute to everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cat Sports, the Boxtorian. Today, boxing in the States, West Virginia. How's the family today? It's Thursday, getting late in this big week of boxing history. Boxing in the States series continues today. I know I had said we had two more. Wisconsin was today, but then I remembered West Virginia is right in there before Wisconsin. So we had three more. West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. So today, boxing in the States, West Virginia. How's everybody today on this beautiful June afternoon? We're going to talk a little boxing history. And after West Virginia is not going to be a real long one. So Mike Rim, what's up, Mike? Mike Rim in the building, salute, Mike. So after West Virginia, we're going to talk about, we never really got into deep about the Muhammad Ali situation when he was suspended from boxing and everything. So we're going to talk about that today, okay? And his first fight as a pro as Cassius Clay, his opponent was from West Virginia. So we're going to talk about that fight a little too, okay? Muhammad Ali's first opponent, Tunney Hunsaker, to begin his career, is from West Virginia. So we're going to look at his first fight against Tunney today too, later in the show. Boxing in the States, West Virginia, today on Cast Sports, bringing you all that boxing history. Okay, salute Mike Grimm. Good to see you again today. Okay, the highlights of boxing history today is going to be the 10 best lightweight boxers in boxing history. Since I'm always talking about Roberto Duran and Benny Leonard, we're going to talk about the 10 best lightweights boxers, 10 best lightweight boxers in boxing history for the highlights of boxing history segment today. Getting closer and closer to that DB3 card this weekend. Yep. Get to see Abdullah Mason in his toughest test to date, going in there against Jeremiah Nakathila. Okay. Be a good test for the youngster, but I think he'll pass it. But it's only a couple days away. I guess what the final press conference is today, right? Then the weigh-in, then Saturday, they throw hands. Okay, but first, the highlights of boxing history today is 10 best lightweight boxers in boxing history. I think we're gonna do like the 10 best boxers in every division for the highlights of boxing history coming up, starting Monday, from heavyweight all the way down. But today, let's look at the lightweights. We already got that going. So highlights of boxing history. Those people act like they like this highlights of boxing history. There's my number one lightweight right there. The Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran. Okay, that's mine. I guess y'all already know that. 10 best lightweight boxers in boxing history. Now, for over a century, the lightweight division has given us some of the most dazzling displays of pugilistic artistry, blending speed with power and skill with savagery. Your lightweight was one of the original 8, before we got the juniors and the supers and all that kind of stuff. Lightweight was one of the original 8 divisions. Now, the lightweights are unique in balancing the best of both worlds. Now, unlike the slower, thunderous giants of the upper weight classes, these fighters at lightweight move like lightning, but still hit like thunder. They weave science and savagery into a seamless dance, making the division home to some of the purest boxers the sport has ever seen. Artisans like Pernell Whitaker, Benny Leonard, and Tony Canzonieri, who can make a man miss and pay for it in the same breath. It has also served as a proving ground for warriors like Henry Armstrong and Roberto Duran, who dominated their opponents with relentless fury, demonstrating that skill and brutality can coexist in the same heartbeat. Okay, let's look at some of these. The 10 greatest lightweight boxers of all time. 10 greatest lightweights. Number 10 is Sugar Shane Mosley. Yeah, Sugar Shane was a big lightweight. Yeah. Now, Sugar Shane had a lethal mix of speed and power. Thin resume with a beatdown of shot-worn Jesse James Leger, his signature win. Dominated title challengers, winning 66 of 73 championship rounds. 66 of 73 rounds in championship fights. Sugar Shane won them. Posted an eye-popping 250-16 record as an amateur. Sugar Shane Mosley. Now, the 3-division world champion Mosley, 49 wins, 10 losses, 1 draw, 41 knockouts as a pro. for Sugar Shane. Turn it on. Uh-oh. There we go. Add calculator, malfunctioning. Knockout ratio of 83.6 for Sugar Shane. 49 wins, 41 by knockout. He had a rare blend of electric hand speed, two-fisted power, and the versatility to fight inside or outside. Strong as an ox with a body head attack, capable of scrambling brains upstairs or puncturing holes through the liver downstairs. Stoutly built, the California native was as durable as they came, going 32-0 as a lightweight without ever touching the canvas. He had never lost in the lightweight division, Sugar Shane did. Right? Never knocked down either as a lightweight. Sugar Shane never had a dance partner during a talent-scarce era, but he's the most athletically gifted fighter on this list. He notched stoppages in all 8 of his title defenses, but the quality of opposition hurt his overall standing here at lightweight. Had 8 title defenses at lightweight and had stoppages in all of them. Sugar Shane crushed the legend. Couldn't find you this morning, Crush. You must have took a day off, but crushed the legend. 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, crushed the legend. Fire podcast, giving us those fire Sean Combs updates. That was at Hip Hop Inside Out Boxing, part of the STN network. Crushed the legend. Very versatile guy. You can get it all over there in the morning, 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. Salute, Crush. Okay, we talking about the 10 greatest lightweights of all time. Sugar Shane was 10. Number 9, we go back a ways. Lou Ambers. Wait a minute, that's Sugar Shane. Lou Ambers. That's Lou Ambers. Okay. Now, Lou Ambers, the Herkimer Hurricane, took on the best of the 1930s. Utilized movement, counters, and clinches to neutralize Henry Armstrong. Never stopped in the first 101 fights of his career. Was originally born Luigi Giuseppe D'Ambrosio. Now, Lou Ambers, 89 wins, 8 losses, 7 draws, 28 knockouts. Was the lightest hitter of the bunch, but still became a 2-time lightweight champion with wins over legends Henry Armstrong and Tony Canzonieri. The upstate New Yorker didn't have an ace up his sleeve with only a modest punch, but he was a well-rounded fighter with athleticism, technical acumen, and a steely resolve. A stick and move artist with excellent footwork, Lou controlled distance and angles, allowing him to dart in and out of exchanges while avoiding heavy shots. And aside from Henry Armstrong and Canzonieri, Ambers faced the nastiest fighters of his era, having only been stopped twice. Lou Ambers. Okay. All right. Number 8 is Tony Canzonieri. Around the same era as Ambers. There's Tony Canzonieri. The Mechanic, that's what they called him, the Mechanic. A relentless force who conquered multiple divisions. He lost in his first title fight as an 18-year-old bantamweight, but he was a 3-division world champion in the 8-belt era, okay? Only had 8 divisions. He was the champion in 3 of them. Not simultaneously, though, like Henry Armstrong. Acted in motion pictures and owned a restaurant on Broadway. Tony Canzonieri, 137 wins, 24 losses, 10 draws, 44 knockouts. Faced some of the stiffest competition on this list. with foes that read like a who's who of lightweight contenders in the talent-laden 1920s and 30s. Yeah, that lightweight that was probably like the best eras around the 20s and 30s for lightweights. Benny Leonard, all those guys. Canzonieri was an ornery fella who would defiantly brawl with sluggers and try to outbox technicians. At his best, Tony was a relentless aggressor who uniquely applied pressure from an upright stance, shooting his jab off the hip, similar to 1930s heavyweight champ Max Baer. Now, the quirky style created unique counterpunching angles that produced knockouts. The Italian Freedom's most notable wins were against Lou Ambers, Kid Chocolate, and Al Singer. Teeth Tough, Kanzi, was stopped only once in the last scrap of his 175-fight career. Stopped once in his last fight, 175 fights. Tony Canzonieri, the mechanic. Next, we talk about these are the 10 greatest lightweights of all time. The Old Master, Joe Gans. The Old Master, the boxing pioneer who overcame racism. 42-round fight with Battling Nelson was the third longest of the 20th century and the longest ever championship fight. For 3 fights in one night in 1901. 3 fights in one night. We got fighters nowadays don't even fight 3 fights in 3 years. This man fought 3 fights in one night, okay? The phrase, bring it home to bacon, was originally coined by Joe Gans, the Old Master. Joe Gans, 147 wins, 10 losses, 16 draws, in the 100 knockout club, 103 knockouts, was one of the pioneers of scientific boxing. With a slick style and a different, he had a slick style and a quick thinking brain. Joe's trademark was pinpoint accuracy with precisely placed punches to different parts of his opponent's anatomy. Now, Gans once said, if you happen to hit a man in a certain place that hurts, that is the place to hit him again, right? No brainer. Hit him in a place that hurts, hit him there again. The stocky-built Baltimore kid was thrown to the wolves at only 17 years of age, going 12 rounds in his pro debut and 22 in his second fight. The Old Master was given few opportunities during the 1900s when African-American fighters were rejected. Joe's best win came by a 42nd round disqualification win against human battering ram Battling Nelson. Next, greatest lightweights of all time, the explosive thin man, Alexis Arguello. The explosive thin man. Now, the explosive thin man was a purple-hearted tactician with a bazooka. Alexis Arguello. 3-division world champion. He tried for 4, but he couldn't get past the Hawk, Aaron Pryor. Now, he knocked out 10 different world champions in his career. 10 different world champions. Didn't just beat them, knocked them out. He was knocked out in his 4th fight. And he became mayor of Nicaragua after his boxing career. Now, 3-division world champion, Alexis Arguello. 77 wins, 8 losses, 62 by the way of the knockout. Hit like a mule at lightweight, utilizing a graceful and relaxed boxing style to carry his power into the later rounds. The pride of Nicaragua had it all: height, stamina, body punching, counter punching, exact technique, and enough juice to put you on ice. Arguello was an expert sniper who would collect data, stay patient, and strike precisely when the opportunity presented itself. His most impressive wins came at junior lightweight, but wins over Jim Watt, Ray Mancini, and Cornelius Boza Edwards were all impressive displays of dominance. And those were at lightweight. With the second highest skill set, one could argue that the sinewy El Flaco de Explosivo, the explosive thin man, could have beaten anyone on this list due to his height, 5'10". You know, that's big at lightweight, 5'10". Okay, talking about the greatest lightweights of all time. Top 5. At number 5, Homicide Hank. Henry Armstrong, Homicide Hank. Coming in at number 5. This is the top 5 lightweights of all time. Now, Homicide Hank held titles in 3 divisions simultaneously. He defeated 15 of 17 champions he faced in the 8-belt era. He lost 3 out of his first 4 fights. Became an ordained minister after he retired from the ring. The Los Angeles-based Henry Armstrong, 149 wins, 21 losses, 10 draws, 99 knockouts, missed the 100 knockout club by 1, 99 knockouts. He resembled a runaway train. He was Aaron the Hawk Pryor before Aaron the Hawk Pryor, never taking a backward step. The boxing definition of perpetual motion with a swarming style that featured a hailstorm of punches and crippling body blows. Armstrong is the only fighter in boxing history to simultaneously hold titles in 3 weight divisions and ranks in the top 5 on most all-time pound-for-pound lists. The human buzzsaw was also scientific, with deft hand movement and the ability to smother opponents while remaining in a position to land counters. 42 wins and 1 loss in the lightweight division, defeating legends Lou Ambers, Barney Ross, Baby Arizmendi, and Seferino Garcia. He split a pair of wars with Ambers, who was able to corral Armstrong's buck-wild style. Coming in at number 4 at greatest lightweights of all time, the legendary Ike Williams. Ike Williams. Deadly puncher with ties to the mob. Needed no ring moniker. Okay. Williams was once described as a man playing piano with gloves on. Made his pro debut at 17 years of age. Ike Williams, 126 wins, just 4 losses, 4 draws, 61 knockouts. Is regarded as one of the division's hardest punchers with a short, compact punching delivery, likened to Joe Louis. They used to call him the miniature Joe Louis. Nuclear power enabled Williams to compete regularly against world-class welterweights, Johnny Bratton, Kid Gavilan, and George Costner. Ike retained the crown for 6 years and made 8 title defenses, including a knockout over Bojack and a pair of decisions over former champ Sammy Angut. If you're into the old fights, Ike Williams, Bojack, and Bob Montgomery, those 3, any fight between any combination of those 3 great fights about like the 40s, Ike Williams, Bojack, and Bob Montgomery had some great matchups. The arch nemesis Bob Montgomery knocked Ike out with 11 seconds left in their first fight, but Williams exacted revenge in the return fight with a savage 6-round stoppage. One of his most famous displays of power came in his 1948 title defense against Bojack, where he liquidated Bo in the 6th round with a brutal barrage of punches. Connected to the underworld, with gangster Blinky Palermo serving as his manager from 1946 to the end of his career. Yeah. Ike, he had a few mobsters managed him, but, that was the way of the day back then. Coming in at number 3, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, greatest lightweights of all time. Number 3, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. It's Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea was the untouchable pound-for-pound king of the 1990s. Gold medalist at the 1984 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. Outclassed Hall of Famer Azuma Nelson. 4-division world champion. Sweet Pea. Okay? Norfolk, Virginia's finest. Pernell Whitaker. 40 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, 17 knockouts. Was Mr. Pound for Pound in the 1990s when the Ring magazine returned to the mythical rankings. In a dream matchup between Whitaker and Duran, Sweet Pea might frustrate Dance and outslick the Hands of Stone by decision. Now against Benny Leonard, Purnell's extra gear in speed, southpaw angles, and counterpunches might be enough to edge out a win on the cards, but these would be great fights. These are the top three. At his best, the flamboyant showstopper was a ghost dawning in the everlast with a dazzling style that has often been imitated but never duplicated. Once jumped in the air, spun around, and hit an opponent, Alfredo Lane, on the button. Power was an underrated aspect of Whitaker's skill set, with piercing body blows and enough pop to paint the canvas. In Whitaker's first title attempt at lightweight, he was robbed in a dubious decision against Jose Luis Ramirez. Still, he went on to win the Undisputed Championship and make 6 title defenses. Purnell Sweet Pea Whitaker. Okay. Coming in at number 2 at lightweight. I'm down to Roberto Duran and Benny Leonard. Number 2, Benny Leonard. Yeah, Benny Leonard comes in at number 2. But you know who number 1 is. On my list, the Hands of Stone. Well, Benny Leonard is number 3. The Ghetto Wizard, a tactical genius who ruled boxing's no-decision era. He fought 154 fights without a defeat in the no-decision era. Turned pro at age 15. He served as a lieutenant for the U.S. Merchant Marines during World War II. The Ghetto Wizard, from the Big Apple, Benny Leonard, 90 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw, 71 knockouts, was the definition of boxing science. Now, the Jewish descendant was a thinking man's fighter with an educated jab, nifty footwork, creativity, and ample thump in both hands. Leonard was a stylist who fought in an era ruled by bombers like Jack Dempsey, the toy bulldog Mickey Walker, and the great Harry Graham. He topped the best fighters of his generation with wins over Freddie Welsh, Lou Tendler, Jack Britton, Johnny Dundee, Rocky Kansas, and Johnny Kilbane over a 7.5-year title reign. Fought in the no-decision era, engaging in 220 fights with only 6 losses. Okay, number 1, greatest lightweights of all time, the Hands of Stone, Roberto Duran. The Panamanian powerhouse, Manos de Piedra, could do it all. His first 10 title defenses were knockouts, okay? Made his pro debut at 16 years of age. Closed out his career as a 50-year-old middleweight. And he might still be fighting. I'm not sure. He might still be active. About 70-something now. I heard he fought in Panama last week. Roberto Duran's reign of terror over the lightweight division lasted 6.5 years with a record 12 title defenses before vacating the title. Despite his reputation as a deadpan, foam-at-the-mouth assassin, Duran, 103 wins, 16 losses, 70 knockouts, was a methodical strategist with brilliant interior defense and the versatility to adapt to any style. Power and ambiguity enabled Duran to become a 4-division world champion. The pride of Panama's quality of opposition at lightweight was superb, with wins over Esteban de Jesus, Ray Lampkin, Villamar Fernandez, Hector Thompson, Guts Suzuki, and Edwin Viruet. De Jesus defeated an unfocused Duran in a 10-round fight, coming up the ranks, but the Hands of Stone showcased his mastery in a trilogy that ended with de Jesus being counted out. The Hands of Stone. Roberto Duran, the greatest ever lightweight in living memory. Okay, we're going to talk about West Virginia boxing in the States today. And then we're going to look at that situation. I never talked about that, about Muhammad Ali going deep on when he was suspended back in the 60s, what happened and all that. We're going to talk about that today after West Virginia, because West Virginia is a little short. Okay? It has everybody today is thirsty. Deep into this week of boxing history now. We got a DB3 Saturday. Abdullah Mason on the card, going up against Jeremiah Nakathila. Tough test for the youngster, but I think he'll pass it with flying colors. He might get Nakathila out of there early. Guru Tyler got Nakathila out of there in the second round, so, Abdullah should be able to handle him. But boxing in the States, West Virginia. Yeah, I know I've been saying Wisconsin all week, but then I was looking at the alphabet yesterday. I said, oh, West Virginia is in there. So West Virginia is today. Azim Shabazz, salute. How are you today? Azim, good to see you. We're going to talk about West Virginia for a minute. And then we're going to talk about the greatest, Muhammad Ali. Never can talk enough about the greatest of them all. But boxing in the States, West Virginia today. Okay. All right. Now, boxing has a rich history in West Virginia, with a notable presence at West Virginia University and connections to the state's coal mining communities. Now, West Virginia University's boxing program was active from 1930 to 1960. Yeah, I told y'all that boxing was big back in that range. They had an NCAA tournament on boxing, but in the early 60s, a boxer died from injuries suffered in the ring, and that was the end of it. A lot of schools, they ended the tournament. A lot of schools dropped boxing. But West Virginia's program went from 1930 to 1960. And it produced champions like Sam Littlepage and Mickey Bruto. Additionally, Emanuel Stewart, the legendary boxing trainer who founded the Kronk Boxing Gym out there in Detroit, he was born in Kimball, West Virginia, right? Emanuel Stewart. And the sport is also interwoven with the state's coal mining history, with some boxing gyms, like the one featured in 12 Rounds in Lowe's Gym. That's a book that was written, serving as a place for youth to gain opportunities. So let's take a more detailed look at this history. West Virginia University's boxing legacy. Now, the West Virginia University boxing program was active between 1930 and 1960. Like I said, produced 3 national champions: Sam Littlepage in 1938, Ashby Dickerson in 1938, and Mickey Bruto in 1936. Now, Sam Littlepage, he was a native of Charleston, West Virginia. He not only won the NCAA championship, but he also served in the U.S. Army during World War II, demonstrating the diverse backgrounds of boxers in the state of West Virginia. Oh, wait a minute. Let me close this window. I forgot. Yeah. You're going to come up here by this window. 2 and 4. How did it? Okay. I'm sorry. I'm back. Yeah. Usually cook the grandson Wednesday, but today is Thursday. But I'm back. Now, Sam Littlepage, as we were talking about Sam. Yeah, he was a native of Charleston, West Virginia. Now, he not only won the NCAA championship, he also served in the U.S. Army in World War II, demonstrating the diverse backgrounds of boxers in the state. Now, the West Virginia University boxing program was also known for its success in regional championships, like the Eastern Intercollegiate Conference, right? Now, let's talk about Emanuel Stewart, who was originally from Kimball, West Virginia. Now, he moved to Detroit, Michigan when he was 12. When his mother and father got divorced, he went with his mother. But he was born in Kimball, West Virginia. Now, Kimball was a small town in McDowell County, has a significant boxing connection to Emanuel Stewart, the legendary trainer. founded the Clark Boxing Gym out there in Detroit. Now, Stewart's connection to Kimball, West Virginia, highlights the link between West Virginia's coal mining communities and boxing, with many fighters and trainers coming from these areas. Okay? Let's talk about boxing and coal mining. West Virginia is big for coal mining, right? Boxing and coal mining. Now, the book, 12 Rounds in Lowe's Gym, explores the relationship between boxing and West Virginia's coal mining history, featuring a father over the boxing gym to provide opportunities for at-risk youth in the region. This book suggests that boxing gyms in coal mining areas serve as a space for youth to gain skills and opportunities that may not have been available otherwise, right? Now, overall significance of boxing in West Virginia. Now, boxing in West Virginia has a history that reflects the state's diverse communities, from its coal mining heritage to its connection to national sporting events. The sport played a significant role in the lives of many West Virginians, offering opportunities for athletic achievement and community building. Okay? Now, I got this fight that caused boxing to be outlawed in West Virginia. Let's talk about that because the guy died from the result of it. Let's talk about it. Explain it better as we talk about it. Okay. All right. How's everybody? It's Thursday. We are. Tomorrow is going to be the first active. Well, we did Donito's on there, but I don't know if Donito is really still active. But we're going to do an first active boxer. Tomorrow going to be Canelo Alvarez, and we're going to do an active boxer every first Friday of every month, starting with Canelo tomorrow, and then every first Friday. Now, this fight got prize fighting banned in West Virginia. Okay. Wait a minute. I got to get my tablet. Bear with me for a minute. Yeah, this is the fight that got boxing banned in West Virginia. Okay. One moment. I told y'all I gotta keep this tablet on the charger until I get ready for it because it goes down so fast. You can see that going down like 190, 50, 40, 10, 0. Yeah. But who y'all got? Y'all think Evan De La Santo is gonna be able to handle Keyshawn? I think Evan hadn't fought since the Shakur fight, right? Yeah. He hadn't fought since it's like 2 years or something like that. That's a long layoff to be going into a big fight like that. You know what I mean? But we're gonna see because it's Saturday. EB3. It's two brothers on the card. So yeah. Looking forward to that. I think we got some other cards this weekend too. I'm gonna have to look at them a little bit later. Check them out. Yeah, we're gonna talk about this fight. Then we're gonna talk about some boxers from West Virginia, and then got a nice piece on Ali. Then we got banned from boxing. We're gonna get all into that. Okay, exactly what happened. We never talked about that before. Exactly what happened to him, why they banned him, and all that. Man, this thing is moving slow. Anybody coming? No. Just bear with me for a moment. I think it's moving slow. Jimmy Christmas, somebody has to do it off of here. Those small words. Oh, here we go. Okay, good. Wow. My eyes bad enough already. Them little words, I'd be blind by the time the show over with. You're going to be started in 1 minute. This is really interesting. Yeah, this is the guy that this is the fight that caused boxing to be banned in West Virginia. Okay. It was bad, man. I'm telling you. Let's talk about it. You ready to get it up for you now? I hope. Oh man. Let me try one more time. West Virginia. Okay, I'm gonna have to use this little small. Oh, here we go. Good. Okay, let's go. Okay. This is the fight that got boxing banned in West Virginia. That's one of the guys that was in the fight right there on the screen. It didn't end well for him. Okay. This boxing match got prize fighting banned in the state. Now, on June 29th, 1899, the boxing match that led to a ban of prize fighting in West Virginia got underway at Freeze Park in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Now, the fight between local boxer George Kid Wanko and Felix Carr of St. Albert's was falsely represented to officials as a boxing contest and not a prize fight, right? In the boxing contest, the gloves must weigh over 5 ounces, and the fight is for points with no purse. In the prize fight, the gloves weigh 5 ounces or less. There is a purse to fight for, and the fight is kept up until one of the men is knocked out. Now, the boxing contest lasts only for a certain number of rounds, and it was misrepresented as to what it was, okay? So, fight referee J.H. Nightingale later told police he'd been informed the Wanko Carr fight was to be a 20-round contest for points only. He'd been approached by E.E. Wright, a saloon keeper of Huntington, West Virginia, who backed and managed Carr. Now, Nightingale said he did not agree to referee until he had talked with Carr, who assured him that there was no money up and that it was a glove contest for scientific points only. Furthermore, said Nightingale, before the fight began, he called the 2 contestants, Ben Anderson, who was Carr's second, Ben Morrison, bartender who backed and trained Wanko, and Wanko's second, and asked for the articles of agreement. He said none were produced and that the contestants agreed with him that it was a friendly 20-round scientific contest. Now, the fight organizers understood among themselves, however, that the fight was to be for a decision and that the winner should take the gate receipts. Now, both men weighed in at 151 pounds. Now, according to the Parkersburg Sentinel newspaper, about 200 of the sporting fraternity and several women from the lower end of town attended the fight, okay? Several women from the lower end of town. Ray Patterson in the building. What's up, RP? straight out of the great state of New Jersey. Here we just talking about a little history of boxing in West Virginia. Some other significant things. This is the fight we're talking about now. They got the boxing banned in West Virginia. Now the fight began at 11 p.m. in the second round. It began at 11 p.m. Now in the second round, it was even. Fight was even so far. Now though the blows were not brutal, they were hard. In the third round, Wanko slipped on the canvas and fell to the floor and rolled under the ropes. In the fourth round, Carr was weak and appeared discouraged. Okay? Early in the fifth round, Wanko landed a long left-handed blow to Carr alongside the head, which sent him to his knees. While he grasped the ropes with one hand and rested the other on the floor. So the referee counted off the 10th count, and then Carr fell forward on his face and made several wobbly attempts to rise to his feet. He couldn't get up. So the referee Nightingale decided in favor of Wanko, and Carr's seconds assisted him to his corner. They rubbed him down. No one thought that he was seriously hurt at that point. Now, moments later, Carr began vomiting and then went into convulsions. His condition was so alarming that his handlers dispatched a messenger for a physician, right? But before Dr. W.J. Davidson could arrive, Carr's handlers carried him to a cab and headed downtown to the Commercial Hotel. I don't know why they didn't wait on the doctor to get there. The man might have lived. From midnight, when they placed Carr in a room at the hotel, he slipped into unconsciousness and he died an hour later. Now, Wanko, his opponent, was bedside with Carr the entire time at the hotel, right? Others interested in the fight were also in the room. Wanko took it bad, right? His opponent, and he did not make any attempt to escape. He later told police investigators he did not know that the governor had written Parkersburg officials to have the fight stopped, but he was aware that a prize fight would not have been permitted in the city, should not have been permitted in the city. Now, in October 1899, Wanko was convicted of manslaughter. Following an autopsy, it was determined that Carr had several health problems that contributed to his death, and the charges against Wanko were eventually dropped. Okay? But that was a fight that got prize fighting banned in West Virginia. Now, Wanko was convicted of manslaughter, but eventually the charges were dropped because they found out Carr had other health issues also. Yeah. So they did drop the charges. Now let's talk about some boxers from West Virginia. They only got like 4 of them. And we're going to talk about Muhammad Ali. Okay? We got 4 boxers from West Virginia. One of them was Muhammad Ali's first career fight, Cassius Clay's debut fight from West Virginia. We're going to talk about that too. Ali's debut fight against one of these boxers from West Virginia. Yep. And that's up. His debut fight. The guy was from West Virginia. Okay, first, Billy Arnold. How about some boxers from West Virginia? Billy Arnold. Here's Billy. Now, Billy Arnold, William Marshall Arnold. He was a highly talented welterweight, middleweight prospect of the 1940s. Born in Slab Fork, West Virginia, Arnold turned pro November 1st, 1943, while still in high school. He became an overnight sensation by racking up an impressive string of 16 straight knockout victories. First 16 fights were knockouts, okay? Now, Arnold's style was similar to Sugar Ray Robinson. He was a slick boxer with lightning-fast combinations and a knockout punch. The Ring magazine and various newspapers across the United States touted Arnold as the next Joe Louis or Sugar Ray Robinson. Arnold was a heavy favorite to defeat Rocky Graziano and then to go on to fight for the world title. In a brutal battle staged in March 1945. Arnold battered the rough and tough Graciano for the first few rounds, and it seemed only a matter of moments when the fight would be stopped. But Graciano absorbed the beating and went on to batter and knock out Arnold in one of the major upsets in boxing around that time. Yeah, Arnold ended up losing that fight. And for his career, Arnold had a record of 41 wins, 9 losses, 1 draw, 34 knockouts, with 82.9% knockout ratio. Okay. Ed Greathouse, boxers from West Virginia. Ed Greathouse. There's Ed. Ed Greathouse. You're talking about some boxers from West Virginia. Now, Ed Greathouse. Okay. Now, Ellery Ed Greathouse. Okay. He was an American boxer who competed in the 1924 Summer Olympics in Paris. He was born in Roane County, West Virginia. At the 1924 Olympics, Greathouse was eliminated in the second round of the heavyweight class after losing his fight to the eventual bronze medalist, Alfredo Porzio of Argentina. Okay, he didn't medal. He lost to the eventual bronze medalist. And he didn't have a big pro career, right? His record as a professional was 0 wins and 2 losses. 0 wins, 2 losses. Now, Tony Hunsaker. Tony Hunsaker was Muhammad Ali's debut fight. Cassius Clay's debut opponent. Okay, there they are. Cassius Clay and Tony Hunsaker in Cassius Clay's first ever fight. Thomas Hill. What's up, T. Hill? We're talking about some boxers from West Virginia now. Tony Haysacker, Muhammad Ali's Cassius Clay, then debut fight. And we're going to talk about that fight later. Yeah, there they are. Salute Thomas Hill. Tony Hunsaker, originally from Kentucky, but he grew up in Fayetteville, West Virginia. Tony Hunsaker. Okay. And he is best remembered for, of course, as the first professional opponent of boxing great Cassius Clay, later known as Muhammad Ali. Now, outside of his boxing career, Hunsaker served many years as the police chief of Fayetteville, West Virginia. And Tony went on to win 17 fights. He lost 15. He had 1 draw and 8 knockouts. And then, of course, West Virginia's most famous fighter was the coal miner's daughter, Christy Barton. Yep, the coal miner's daughter. And Christy was from Mullins, West Virginia. Yep, that's West Virginia's most famous fighter, the coal miner's daughter. Okay? Christine Renee Salters Martin. Maiden name was Salters. Okay? Nicknamed the coal miner's daughter, right? Now, she was a former professional boxer, boxing analyst, and motivational speaker. Now, Christy competed from 1989 to 2012. She held the WBC female super welterweight title in 2009. She was the first female boxer elected to the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame in 2016. And she was also elected to the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2020. 2020 was the first year that women was on the ballot. Okay? The coal miner's daughter, Christy Martin, West Virginia's most famous boxer. And she had 49 wins, 7 losses, 3 draws, 32 knockouts. 65.3% knockout ratio, excellent for women's boxing. Okay? Now we want to talk about Muhammad Ali now. His what happened when he got banned and all that. Okay, we never talked about that before on Cast Sports. We're going to talk about that today. Muhammad Ali's banment from boxing. I had trouble finding that earlier. But it was easy before I started Let me see. Got close to this show. Let's see. Okay. But how's everybody? We're going to get into it about the greatest, Muhammad Ali. Found a way in today for the DV3 card coming up this weekend. What else we got this weekend? I think it's another card. Does Tito fight? Tito, what's his name? Oh man, Mercado, something like that. Does he fight this weekend? No, I'm not sure. Don't forget tomorrow, the life and career of Canelo Alvarez. We doing active boxes now. First Friday of every month. Might as well. Canelo and Tank and Bud Crawford, all of them. Shakur, Keyshawn, Abdullah Mason. Now, they don't have enough history to talk about them youngsters. We're going to do the guys like Canelo, Bud, Tank, been in the game for a while. The Mexican Monster, those kind of guys. We ain't profiling no prospects. Okay? No prospects allowed. Okay, let's see if we can get this going. There we go, right there, man. Love it when a plan comes together. We're going to talk about Muhammad Ali and his banment from boxing. We never talked about that before. We're going to get down in the weeds on it. Because we got a whole hour to go. Because West Virginia was a little short one, Then we got Wisconsin and Wyoming, and that's it on the Boxing in the States series. Y'all going to miss it? We can start over at A again now and go through the alphabet again. Take another year. It'd be 2026. But why was Muhammad Ali banned from boxing in his early years? What happened? Ray Patterson says, Cass, didn't he get banned because he wouldn't go in the military? Yeah, that was it, RP. Yeah, that was what happened. We get ready to talk about it right now. Yep, RP, you got it. Why was Muhammad Ali banned from boxing in his early years? Politics. Mainly politics. Now, Muhammad Ali was banned from boxing because of politics. His opposition to the war, like RP was just talking about, and his opposition to the war was intolerable to the government. And racism as well, White celebrity would not have drawn the same bow as Ali got, right? Okay, it's just a fact. Just wouldn't have. Now, in 1966, the Vietnam War was becoming increasingly unpopular. White college kids were demonstrating, and white middle class and upper class kids who got draft notices headed to Canada in droves. The poor, the uneducated, and the blacks were being drafted at a rate twice that of the general population. Never has any American war more symbolized the saying, rich man's war, poor man's fight, right? Rich man's war, poor man's fight. Vietnam War summed that up perfectly. Rich man's war, poor man's fight. Now, according to historian Donald Lux, thousands of young black men enlisted in the armed forces because the military afforded them educational and vocational opportunities in what was supposed to be the most integrated institution in the United States. But as the 1960s advanced, reports of racial bias in the draft, discriminatory treatment in the armed forces, and racism in all branches of the services profoundly changed the way the black community viewed the military and military service. Okay? Anger over discriminatory treatment of blacks in the military was a major reason for Martin Luther King Jr.'s and other civil rights organizations break with the Johnson administration over the Vietnam War. Lyndon B. Johnson, he was president during the war. John F. Kennedy was president when they first started sending American military over there, but they weren't in an active fighting role. Then they were just as advisors. When Kennedy first did it, like 63, before he got assassinated. But then when they actually started fighting over there, and the bulk of the United States military went to Vietnam, Lyndon Johnson was president. Okay, the Johnson administration. I was like 5, 6, something like that then. But I done read up on it. I don't remember it. But I was alive. I had an older brother who went to Vietnam. And he was just crazy when he came back, man. Straight up crazy. I was scared of him. But let's continue. Okay. Into this political cauldron comes Muhammad Ali. Okay? Now, the government depended on quiet obedience to the draft from the black community. Drafting there in 1966 of a rate over twice that of the white community, from the black community, over twice the rate of the white community. The very last thing the government wanted was the nation's most famous black athlete defying the draft, okay? And so it began. Okay? Muhammad Ali's defiance of the draft was intolerable to the government. Okay? Was intolerable. The president himself, Lyndon Baines Johnson, felt that the government could not afford to have the highest profile black athlete in the country defy the draft. He feared it would lead to the kind of draft resistance that was increasingly apparent in white America. He felt Muhammad Ali defying it would cause the same thing in black America, right? So they couldn't have that. They had to make Ali pay. Ironically, the government would never have let Muhammad Ali anywhere near the front lines, no matter what he wanted. The government had, in fact, flatly told Muhammad Ali that he, like Joe Louis before him, would never actually fight in the war, no matter what he wanted. The government had zero intent of risking a celebrity being killed in a divisive war if it was able to help it. The issue boiled down to would Ali do PR to support a war which he felt was wrong, and in which he felt Americans were dying for nothing, okay? We're dying for nothing. Now, why did Ali refuse induction when all he would have done is box exhibitions, and like Joe Louis in World War II, kept his title and made millions? Because when Joe Louis went in the army in World War II, when he came out, he was still champion. That's what they had planned for Ali, go and do exhibitions and everything, come out, be still champion. But Ali, like I said yesterday, he did not give up his plan. He stood on principle. He was against the war, and he was not going in there and support the war no matter what. He stood on his principle, never changed. But he could have did like Joe Louis. Nothing against Joe Louis. He could have done like Joe Louis, went in, did exhibitions, made millions, came out, still been champion. But Ali said no. Now, government misconduct against Ali began long before he refused induction. He had been trying to follow the law for at least a year before he got notice of induction and get conscientious objection status the government's own judge said he should get. The government had cheated and broke every one of his own laws and persecuted Muhammad Ali, right? And not just prosecute, persecute. Okay? Now, Ali believed not only that the war was wrong, but that whether he actually had to carry a rifle or not, he could not support it. And the government had flatly stated to his attorneys and family he would not be put in combat arms, but like Joe Louis, allowed to box exhibitions and forced to appear at public events as Louis had during World War II. Ali said no, because he could not help them prolong an immoral war. He stood on principle. Ali said, no, I'm not doing that. And the government lied and broke the law all the way to the Supreme Court, where it was finally forced to admit the truth. And the Supreme Court said it best. The Supreme Court said, the government in this court has also made clear that it no longer questions the sincerity of the petitioners Ali's beliefs. Opposing the war, this concession is also correct. What actually happened when Ali asked for objective status in early 1966, before we got a draft notice? What actually happened? Okay. Ali did everything by the book to ask for conscientious objective status because he morally and religiously opposed the war. And the government lied, hid their own judge's findings, and illegally tried to first induct Ali, then imprison him. And the government's own judge had already said Ali was eligible for conscientious objective status. But the government hid it and lied. And that was before they even tried to induct Ali. Ali had failed the Army IQ test. He was dyslexic, but the government changed the scores for induction. In February 1966, the Selective Service informed Ali that he was, for the first time, eligible for military service. The government also cheerfully notified him he would be used for PR as Joe Louis had been. Ali then applied for a conscientious objection exemption, as he was opposed to doing PR or anything else to support a cause he believed morally and ethically wrong. Now, contrary to many of the Ali haters' belief that Ali simply refused to step forward and be inducted, it was a lot more complex than that. It had begun years before, and the actions of the government were despicable and illegal. Okay? Despicable and illegal. You know, the United States government is the biggest crime family in the world. And way before Donald Trump. Way before Donald Trump. They've been corrupt and the biggest crime family in the world, United States government. Yeah. Okay? You know, I hope they don't come get me. I be down there where they send them people at Nicaragua, somewhere in that prison. I be the only black person in there. I ain't got a chance. But let's continue. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. But where was it? Yeah, the government had lied, right? And now Ali had taken every legal step to ask for draft exemption on the grounds his religious beliefs kept him from serving in the Vietnam War long before he received an induction notice. The man had applied for the conscientious objective status before they even sent him a draft notice on the grounds of his religious beliefs. Now, Ali had first applied for conscientious objection status in his home state in Louisville, Kentucky, per the rules of the Selective Service. The Selective Service Board in Louisville then referred his application to the Selective Service Appeal Board. All of this took place over a year before he was ordered to report for induction. Okay, over a year before that. Now, by law and Selective Service administrative regulations, once he had applied for objective status and gotten a pro forma rejection, the next step was a comprehensive background check done by the FBI, which was then forwarded to an administrative law judge chosen by the Department of Justice to hold a full and fair fact-finding hearing and advise the appeal board how to rule. Okay? So, after the FBI did a lengthy background investigation, an administrative law judge, in this case, a man with impeccable character and 32 years experience on the bench, a man picked by the government, heard Ali's request for conscientious objection. The Supreme Court summed up the facts behind that hearing. There followed a hearing on the character and good faith of the petitioner's objections before a hearing officer appointed by the government. The hearing officer, a retired judge of many years' experience, heard testimony from the petitioner's mother and father, Ali's mother and father, from one of his attorneys, from a minister of his religion, and from the petitioner himself. He also had the benefit of a full report from the FBI. On the basis of this record, the hearing officer concluded that the registrant was sincere in his objection on religious grounds to participation in war in any form, and he recommended that the conscientious objector claim be sustained. This was before they even sent him a draft notice. The judge, the government appointed, approved Ali's conscientious objector status, okay? But that's how dirty the United States government is. Clay versus United States, 1971. Okay, United States government is dirty. Now, Lawrence Gorman, a highly respected retired Kentucky state judge, was an establishment figure in Kentucky, and the government picked him in the belief he would find Ali was not sincere. Unfortunately for the Department of Justice, Judge Gorman concluded that Muhammad Ali has a sincere religious objection to war in any form. Okay? The government's own hand-picked judge went against him. The judge recommended that the board grant Ali status as a conscientious objector. Did the government of the United States do what its own regulations and those of selective service required and their own hand-picked judge referred them to do? By law, the Justice Department should have forwarded Judge Gorman's well-reasoned legal opinion and findings of fact and law with the background investigation which supported it to the Selective Service Board in Louisville. But the United States government broke the law and threw away their own regulations. Threw away their own regulations. Despicable, man. Despicable. Threw away their own regulations. The Selective Service Appeal Board, which ruled on Ali's application, never saw Judge Gorman's report and findings, ever. Instead, the United States Department of Justice, in an act which violated every tenet of the law, forwarded a letter instead of Judge Gorman's report, which instead, unlike their own judge, ruled against Ali. Okay? Nor did the department inform Ali of the judge's findings as required by law. He would never know that Judge Gorman had actually ruled in his favor. Probably still don't know. And that ruling and the formal report of findings of fact and conclusions of law had been suppressed until his case reached the Supreme Court. That's when he finally beat it in 1971 after 14 months away from the sport after he lost all that time. All this came out in 1971, remember, on the appeal to the Supreme Court. But he should have never been suspended. None of that. He should have received conscientious objector status and never even got that notice from the draft board to report and join, to take induction into the armed service. He never should have even got that, because the government's own judge that they picked to make a decision on the case ruled in Ali's favor. But the government suppressed it. The government suppressed it. Yep. Now, the United States Department of Justice, unlike Judge Guama in his formal finding of fact, stated no factual basis for its claims, and again, completely withheld the judge's findings from the Selective Service Board. See, the Selective Service Board should have got their judge's findings. They would have never sent Ali a draft notice. But the government didn't give it to them. They suppressed it. The reason for a comprehensive investigation and fact-finding hearing is precisely to have facts established by law for the board and a recommendation by a judge as to how to apply those facts. But the government didn't give the Selective Service the ruling, none of it. The investigation, the ruling, nothing. Just despicable. United States government. Lyndon Baines Johnson. Yeah. Democrat, Republican, ain't none of them worth shit, man. None of these presidents. Obama, Trump, none of them. You know? They all are just crooks. Look how they did Ali. They're still doing people like that to this day, man. But anyway, let's continue. I wasn't trying to make this political, but yeah. You know. I mean, I'm not trying to make no excuses for Donald Trump, but they're saying all this stuff he's doing wrong. But president's been doing that forever. You know, been crooks and doing all kinds of nonsense. It didn't just start with Donald Trump. It's been going on forever. Look what Lyndon Baines Johnson did. Okay? So now, when Ali refused induction, the New York State Athletic Commission revoked his boxing license in a stunning display of illegality and discrimination. It should have never got to this point. He should have even never had to go to refuse induction because the government's own judge they appointed ruled in his favor for conscientious objector status. It should have never even came to this, man. Nowhere near that. Okay? But the crooked ass government. Now, the day Ali refused induction, he was denied the right to box. On April 28, 1967, Ali showed up in Houston for a scheduled induction into the U.S. Armed Forces, but he refused 3 times to step forward when his name was called. He shouldn't even have been there in the first place. But he refused 3 times to step forward when his name was called. Okay? An officer warned him that he was committing a felony, punishable by 5 years in prison and a fine of $10,000. But Ali refused again when his name was called, and he was arrested. Later that same day, the New York State Athletic Commission suspended his boxing license and stripped him of his title. Other boxing commissions followed. And this was all because he was practicing the Muslim religion. Look how fast all this happened. The same day that he refused induction, later that same day that they suspended his license. Look how fast all this happened, right? It was a planned ambush. And stripped of his title. Other boxing commissions followed suit. And Ali remained unable to obtain a license to box in any state for almost 4 years. And they revoked his passport. Wouldn't even let him go overseas and fight. All because he was practicing the Muslim religion. That's what it boiled down to. Nothing to do with, that was just a way to get him. Okay? Indeed, Judge Mansfield found that the commission had allowed over 500 felons. Read that again. Judge Mansfield found that the boxing commission had allowed over 500 felons to obtain boxing licenses. The judge pointed out murderers, sex offenders, robbers, gangsters were allowed to fight, while the commission was attempting to say that draft evasion was worse. You got somebody that refused induction into the armed forces, can't get a boxing license, but you're giving boxing licenses to murderers, sex offenders, robbers, gangsters, right? But they saying Oh, he didn't want to be inducted into the armed forces. That's worse. Take his license. Just crazy. The judge found that to be absurd. But nearly 4 years had passed. Right? Not only did the government disgracefully break every regulation and rule of law in Ali's induction appeal, it then offered up to his trial to settle favorably with him if he would just agree to box exhibitions. Ali was well aware that the Army would have put him to PR, used as it had Joe Louis during World War II. Ali made clear he had no intention of contributing in any way to a war he regarded as morally wrong. The man stood on principle, okay? Nothing against Joe Louis, but Ali stood on principle. He said it was wrong, and I'm not doing it, okay? I'm not doing it. I ain't saying Joe Louis was a house man, but I'm just saying. But anyway, up to his trial date, the Department of Justice offered to settle Ali's case, assuring his attorneys in writing that they would make sure he did not serve in the combat arms or even in a combat theater. The government never wanted him as a grunt, you know. That's a combat, you know, somebody out there in combat fighting, call them grunts. They never wanted Ali for that, for combat, okay? They wanted a PR stooge. They wanted him to agree to yield and box exhibitions for them. And Ali, facing 5 years in prison, stripped of his title, banned from boxing, still stood on principle and told the government, no, I'm not doing it. Okay? Still told them no, all of that. But the government was stuck when the case got to the Supreme Court and the justices started looking at Judge Grauman's mysteriously disappearing report. That's the one that gave him conscientious objection status, the judge down in Louisville, Kentucky, where he first applied in his hometown. So the Supreme Court got that. When it finally got to the Supreme Court, those things finally came to light when they had mysteriously disappeared all those years, right? This is when it got to the Supreme Court. I think this was like 70, 71 when he was getting ready to be reinstated. He finally won his case, but look what he missed. But anyway, when it got to the Supreme Court, they was looking at Judge Grauman's mysteriously disappearing report. And the government quickly changed its tune and admitted, oops, Ali was sincere after all, after 3 years. His beliefs real, but he was still wrong on a technicality. They were unable to offer one single fact to support their amazing about face and conclusions. The Supreme Court of the United States cleared Ali in a stunning 8-0 opinion. It was 8, I think it's 9 justices now. It was 8 back then. I think they added one. 8-0 in Ali's favor, the Supreme Court. 8-0. They should have locked Lyndon Johnson's ass up. Had he died yet? 71. Yeah, I think he had died by the time Ali won his appeal. But he should be disgraced. You know, Lyndon Johnson should be remembered in disgrace, man. Because he was ahead of all of that nonsense. But the Supreme Court ruled in Ali's favor, 8-0. Okay, 8-0. Right? Authored by Justice Harlan, who had become convinced of Ali's sincerity and of the government's wanton misbehavior. Okay? Then the government concluded in court that Ali's beliefs were real and sincere and based on religious teachings as he understood them, but still asked the court to uphold a conviction, saying that though Ali's beliefs were real, they had not been sincere at the time of induction. Get the fuck out of here, man. They real now, but they wasn't real at the time of induction. Man, that's crazy. Excuse my language. That's idiotic. Oh, they real in 1970, but in 1967 they weren't. Come on, man. The Supreme Court spoke to that. The department hearing officer, the only person at the administrative appeal level who carefully examined the petitioner and other witnesses in person and who had the benefit of the full FBI file, found that the registrant is sincere in his objection. The Department of Justice was wrong in advising the board in terms of a purported rule of law that it should disregard this finding. Man, you're going to say, okay, he's sincere now, but in 67 he wasn't. That's crazy. Now, what happened to Ali was a disgrace. He sincerely opposed the war and should have been granted objector status, as 170,000 other men were, right? 170,000 other men were. But the only reason he was denied is because of who he was, Muhammad Ali. Anybody else with the same objections in the same position, many of them had been approved, but he was Muhammad Ali. They couldn't let this high-profile athlete, black man, win that because it might have made turn a whole lot of other black people against the war, right? So they couldn't do that. They couldn't do that. They had to bring Ali down, and they did for 3 years. This man probably would have never lost in his life. Joe Frazier, he would have destroyed. Muhammad Ali fighting straight through would have destroyed Joe Frazier, man. He would have danced around Joe Frazier, and it wouldn't even have been a fight. It probably would have been a 15-0 decision. Joe Frazier couldn't even carry Ali's spit bucket. Fighting straight through, not missing those 3 years. I'm sorry, he just couldn't have. So that's what they caused Ali to miss, right? And see, the government appointed a judge they thought would rule in their favor. And when that judge, a truly moral and ethical man, found against them, they suppressed his findings, okay? When he ruled against them, they suppressed his findings. But they did. Yeah. And they would have remained hidden forever if it hadn't been for the Supreme Court. That's y'all government, right? That's y'all government. United States government, the biggest crime family in the world. Yes, it is. And it would have remained hidden forever if it hadn't been for the Supreme Court. Now, the DOJ did its best to hide Judge Gorman's report, but a Supreme Court justice found it, and that was the unwinding of the government's conspiracy. Yep. So the Supreme Court almost did not take Ali's case. The court picks those cases it wishes to hear, and only Justice Brennan's insistence that something was wrong convinced the court to hear the case. At that point, Ali was facing a court divided on his case until Judge Potter Stewart discovered Judge Gorman's long suppressed findings deep in the DOJ records. And outraged Justice Harlan then took it upon himself to champion Ali with the other justices, and the remainder is history. 8-0. All 8 Supreme Court, like I said, it was 8 then, it's 9 now, but it was 8 then. All 8 of them ruled in Ali's favor. The government simply had not counted on a justice taking an interest in this case. Actually, 2 of them. And had not counted on said justice searching the tens of thousands of pages of documents in his files until he unearthed Judge Gorman's memorandum. Judge Gorman's long-hidden memorandum of law and findings of fact turned the 5-3 vote against Ali into an 8-0 vote for him. Now, the cost to Ali of defying a lying, cheating, morally corrupt government led by Lyndon Baines Johnson was immense. He lost almost 4 years of his career, the prime of it, and millions upon millions of dollars. Not one single government agent ever paid a penalty of any kind for their despicable and illegal actions. Not one. And Ali's statement back then could ring loudly today. Ali said, "I am not going 10,000 miles from home to help murder and burn another poor nation simply to continue the domination of white slave masters of the darker people the world over. If I thought the war was going to bring freedom and equality to 22 million of my people, they wouldn't have to draft me. I joined voluntarily." Okay? Ali's opposition to the war in Vietnam was historically relevant, but more important is the forgotten fact that he stayed in the States and risked 5 years in prison. But he stood on principle, what he believed in. Okay? Facing all of that. Quite a man. Muhammad Ali. Now, I keep losing my place every time Now, Ali's opposition to the war in Vietnam, instead of fleeing the country, which he easily could have done, Canada or any Muslim or African country would have granted him asylum, and probably most European countries as well. Ali refused to run away and stayed to fight what he regarded as an unjust act in American courts. Ali, unlike the tons of thousands of who fled abroad, stayed and fought it in the courts and said he would accept the outcome, even if it was prison. This is summed up by a comment he made when asked why he stayed instead of leaving the country when it could result in prison for him. Jerry Eisenberg asked Ali, "Are you planning to join the swelling ranks of war objectors in Canada?" Jerry said he knew the answer even before he asked. And out which Ali jumped down off the table he had been standing on and roared, "I thought you knew me better than that. America is my home. Do you think I would let somebody chase me out of my home? Nobody's going to chase me out of my birthplace. If they say I have to go to jail, then I will go to jail. But I'm not going to run away. And you should know it." Ali stayed, risked prison, took a stand, made all the difference in the world. All those men ran to Canada. And a guy who could have gone anywhere in the world and lived like a king did not run. Okay, Muhammad Ali, the greatest. Now, footnote to history. The Department of Justice and the Bob father era had reached out to Jim Brown before Ali's trial in a final attempt to get Ali to accept a settlement that he could box, keep his title, and do PR. Brown assembled a group of the most prominent black athletes, most of whom originally believed Ali should yield and take the offer. Brown was a partner of the Bob father in his closed circuit business. Now, before the meeting in Cleveland, boxing promoter, the Bob father, and others, including prominent members of the Nation of Islam, also tried directly to persuade Ali to accept the deal that one of the Bob father's law partners had negotiated with the government. If Ali would agree to perform boxing exhibitions for the United States troops, the draft dodging charges would be dropped and he could get back his title. Ali refused, and the summit of black athletes in Cleveland was held. The meeting, held in the offices of Jim Brown's Negro Industrial and Economic Union, had only one goal, according to the Bob father: to convince Ali to take the deal because it opened up tremendous opportunities for black athletes. I wasn't setting it up for the athletes to rally around Ali. That's what the Bob father said. But when the meeting occurred and the group listened to Ali explain his beliefs, they changed their mind. And the entire group, to a man, announced their support for Ali. A few days later in Sports Illustrated, Celtics great Bill Russell, one of those at the meeting, said he envied Ali. Bill Russell said he was still winning championships for the Celtics around this time. Now, Bill Russell said at that time, Ali has something I have never been able to attain and something very few people I know possess. He has an absolute and sincere faith. I'm not worried about Muhammad Ali. He is better equipped than anyone I know to withstand the trials in store for him. What I'm worried about is the rest of us. Amen. Rest in peace to the champ, Muhammad Ali, the greatest. Okay. Now, the guy that Cassius Clay made his debut fight against was from West Virginia, the state we highlighted today. So let's talk about that fight. Ali's first fight was against Tony Hunsaker of West Virginia. Let's look at that real quick. Ali's first fight. Tony Hunsaker from West Virginia. Yeah, that's y'all government in action. The United States government, the biggest crime family in the world. Way before Donald Trump got up there. The government always been corrupt and crooked. Don't try to blame it on Donald Trump. He ain't shit neither, but don't blame him. The president's always been crooked and corrupt like that. Okay? Muhammad Ali versus Tony Hunsaker, the first fight of the greatest. The first fight of the greatest. Trump, Obama, Bush, Johnson, Clinton, none of them. All of them are corrupt. How you think they got rich and to become president? Cheating people. How you think they got their money? Cheating, lying, taking advantage of people. All of them. Obama too. I don't care nothing about him being melanated. He's just as crooked and corrupt as the rest of them. Okay. Let me stop before I run everybody out here. This is Cassius Clay's first fight against Tony Hunsaker. Tony Hunsaker. Okay. Now, from West Virginia. Now, Cassius Clay, who would later rename himself Muhammad Ali and become boxing's biggest ever competitor, superstar. And his first professional fight was I forgot the day. It was in 1960, October something 1960. I think it was October 29th, 1960. October 29th, 1960. After winning the light heavyweight gold at the Olympic Games in Rome the previous summer, Clay started his pro career in his hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, with a unanimous 6-round points win over Tony Hunsaker of West Virginia. Now, Clay arrived at Louisville's Freedom Hall in a brand new pink Cadillac. Yeah, he got that from because Sugar Ray Robinson had one. That was his idol. So when Ali got his money, he went and bought a pink Cadillac. And he was too slick and quick for his journeyman opponent, Tony Hunsaker, who had lost his previous 6 fights. Yeah, Tony was 6 fights into his career. He was 0-6. Okay? But Hunsaker managed to go the distance, something Clay's next 5 opponents did not do, and the fight ensured his place in history. Yet Tony Hunsaker became the answer to a trivia question. Who was Muhammad Ali's first professional opponent? So Tony Hunsaker is famous, right? Who was Muhammad Ali's first? That's a good question for a quiz, right? Boxing quiz. Who was Muhammad Ali's first professional opponent? Tony Hunsaker. So his name will always be remembered when it comes to boxing. Tony. Now, Tony, I told his pro record was 17 wins, 15 losses, 1 draw, 8 knockouts. But look how much I'm talking about him today because he was Muhammad Ali's first opponent, right? So he will go down and always be remembered. Tony will. Now, Hunsaker's nose began leaking blood in the 3rd round. He was cut over his right eye in the 4th round. And Clay finished the fight splattered with blood from Hunsaker. I think it was just a 6th round, I believe, his first fight. Now, Clay won every round and took home $2,000. And after heavyweight fight in front of a crowd of 6,180 people, Hunsaker was 30 years old. He was a police chief. He earned $300. He said, well, he only got $300. Damn. He's awfully good for an 18-year-old kid and as fast as a middleweight, right? That's what Hunsaker said about it. That was Clay's first fight. Nobody knew about, He was going to go on to beat the Big Bear, Sonny Liston, Big George Foreman, Smoking Joe Frazier, and all those famous fights. That was just, he was 0-0 at 0-0. And Clay signed an $18,000 contract to be managed by 10 Louisville businessmen following his Punch for Pay debut. And by the time Clay challenged Sonny Liston for the world heavyweight title in February 1964, 4 years later, he had compiled a 19-0 record by that time. The Hunsaker, who served as a police chief in Fayetteville, West Virginia for 38 years, he was a policeman at that time. He had to end his pro career in 1962 as he was left in a coma for 9 days from a head injury sustained in a 10th round knockout. Wow. He required 2 brain operations before recovering to work as a police officer until retirement in 1992. 2 brain surgeries for Tunney. Wow. And like I told you, Tunney's final record was 17 wins, 15 losses. He had 9 knockouts. Tunney died in 2005 at 74. Now, Ali has outlived Hunsaker, as he has done many of his old opponents and famous rivals. And like he changed his name to Muhammad Ali after winning the World Championship in 1964, right? And he won back the title in 1974 after a 3-year exile we just talked about. Now, Ali retired with a record of 56 wins, 5 losses, 37 knockouts. And not long after his final fight in 1981, Ali announced he had Parkinson's disease. He had that before his final fight. He had that as early as the second Spinks fight, right? Now, several of Ali's fights, such as the Thriller in Manila and the Rumble in the Jungle, are some of the best known in boxing. Ali has transcended boxing to become one of the most recognizable sportsmen in history. Muhammad Ali. Yeah, Tunney Hunsaker was his first fight. And Tunney is famous because of that. Talking about Tunney today. If he hadn't been Ali's first fight, we wouldn't be talking about Tunney today. So, yeah. But there you have it. Boxing in the States, West Virginia, did a little bit about Muhammad Ali and how the United States government did him dirty, man. Yeah. Yeah, they still doing that to people, too. Just terrible, man. They suppressed the report. Even before Ali should have never got anything from the should have never got any kind of draft notice from the Selective Service, because the judge in his hometown where he first applied for conscientious objector status in Louisville, Kentucky, approved it. And when that got forwarded to the Justice Department, they suppressed it, right? And their own hand-picked judge that they thought would rule in their favor ruled against them and gave Ali the status as an objector, right? And then the same day when he was at the induction where he should have never been and refused to step forward and got arrested, the same day they stripped him of his title. It was all planned out, right? It was all planned. They knew he wasn't going to take induction. They all had all that planned, revoked his passport, right? And they stripped him of a license. Like I said, the Boxing Commission was awarding murderers, rapists, child molesters, bank robbers. All of that was getting boxing licenses. But this man refusing to go to a war because of his religion, get his license stripped. Come on, man. Ridiculous. Despicable. And Lyndon B. Johnson was behind it all. And nobody in the government paid the price for it. Nobody. Somebody should have paid for suppressing that report, right? Somebody. Yeah. Anybody else do something like that, they'll come get you. But the United States government is the biggest crime family in the world anyway. Look how they do the citizens. Like, I'm on Social Security right now once a month, but all these years I've been working, 47 years, They was taking it. You get paid every week, you get paid every 2 weeks. That's Mr. Fiker is on your paycheck. But then when it comes time for you to get your money, you get it once a month. But they take it more than once a month. The biggest crime family in the world, the United States government. And they did Ali dirty. But he won in the end, but look what he lost. He lost 49 months of his career. 3 years and another. That's 4 years. 49 months, yeah. Because 67, he came back in 71, I believe. Or was it 70? I don't know. It was 49 months, I think. But yeah, he lost over 3 years of his career. But he did come back and win the title. He wasn't fully 100% Ali like it was when he left. But whatever percentage he was when he came back was better than everybody else. Okay? Was better than everybody else. And like, I like Joe Frazier, but man, Ali was straight through fighting, would have dogged walked Joe Frazier, man. Would have dog walked. Okay? Because he would have been active all that time. Constantly fighting. Right? Timing, everything still on like it had been. And because he missed 49 months, and I think he only had one fight in between when he came back before the Frazier fight in 71. Let me make sure of that, yeah. And then Joe Frazier had been fighting all along. And still took him 15 rounds. You let been Muhammad Ali fighting all along and Joe Frazier been out 3 years of Ali probably stopped him in the first round. But taking that for smoking Joe Frazier, we talking about the greatest, man. Talking about the greatest, Muhammad Ali. And I just thought we would cover that today. Tomorrow is Canelo Alvarez. Life and career. We start doing active fighters now. Okay. First Friday of every month will be an active fighter. Let's see, we got Just Do Boxing coming up. I think we got I think it's another card other than that DB3 tomorrow too, I believe. Let me check it out. Well, we got several minutes left. 1 day left in this big week of boxing history. Let me see here. It's going to be an interesting card Saturday, though. Yeah, we got June 5th. That's today. Oh, my goodness. We got a fight tonight for Montreal, Canada. Mehmet Unal versus Jan. Oh, I'm not even going to attempt that. It's got like 50 letters in it. Good God almighty. Let me put that in there. Pearl, sir, what's happening? You missed it. We was talking about Ali and the what did we do? Okay, let me see what Pearl, sir, says. Ali was never able to dog walk who? Smoking Joe. Yeah, well, I think that Ali that would 60s Ali would have, if he wouldn't have had that break. Probably would have been 15-0, Pearl, sir. Joe Frazier would have never beat him in that first fight. No way. No way. You think Joe Frazier would still beat 100% fighting Ali through that, not without the layoff? They probably would have met sooner, Pearl, sir, if he wouldn't have got the suspension. They might have met like 68 or something. That's Ali stopped Sonny Liston, remember? Yeah. That Ali made Sonny Liston quit on the stool. He would have dog walked Joe Frazier. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he would have. But what was I talking? Yeah, we got a card tonight. We got a card tonight. Yeah. But yeah, I respect your disagreement there, Pearl. So salute. Good to see you today. I didn't even know you was in here. But yeah, I really think if Ali hadn't had that layup, got his license revoked, him and Frazier probably would have fought before 71, round 68 or something like that. That was, whew. That, you think that Joe Frazier would have had a chance against that Ali? No way. No way. No way in this universe. That Ali beats Joe Frazier if you don't stop him 15 rounds to 0. Nobody could touch that Ali. Nobody. Joe Frazier wouldn't have stood a chance. They would have fought before 71 if he wouldn't have got his license revoked. Probably around 68. Because when they had the tournament after he got stripped, Joe Frazier was big time then, but in support of Ali, Joe Frazier didn't participate in the tournament. So Ali don't get stripped. Him and Joe Frazier fights like 1968. You know, that Ali. I don't think that Joe Frazier is even in that Ali's universe as an opponent. But yeah, they would have met way back then. And you know, it would have been bad. I think he dog walks in Pearl, so I really do. I really do. Yeah. Joe Frazier taking little small steps, jumping up and down, bobbing and weaving, and Ali just constantly jabbing him with that right hand. And he swelled Joe Frazier. He had both of his eyes shut in the Thriller in Manila. Just think how bad he would have beat him in 1968. You know, Ali with not even the same legs or the speed or anything in what was the Thriller in Manila, 74, 75. He had both of his eyes closed. The man, Frazier couldn't even see. So imagine 68 Ali beating on Joe Frazier. It wouldn't have been good. He dog walks him, man. Come on, Pearl Sword. Put that boxing knowledge, man. Think. They meeting, I'm talking 1968 now. That's when they would have fought if he hadn't got suspended. It would have been way before 1971. Would have been way before that. Because Joe Frazier was a contender back then. But like I said, he supported Ali and didn't fight in that tournament because he said, Ali, anybody got the right to believe what they want to believe. So he was in support of Ali. And he boycotted the tournament. But then he took the title from Jimmy Ellis. After Jimmy Ellis won him in the tournament, Joe Frazier took him. So when Ali came back, Joe Frazier had him. But if Ali don't get suspended, Joe Frazier probably challenges him for those titles in 1968. That Ali would have destroyed Joe Frazier. Absolutely destroyed him, man. Absolutely destroyed Joe Frazier. Okay? That's just what I think. Looking at the how he was destroying everybody else, you know. That left hook, when they got Ali was too fast, too defensive, too evasive. That would have been the same Ali that stopped, that made Sonny Liston quit on the stool. Joe Frazier's eyes get swollen much sooner. And he ain't going no 8-9 rounds blinded like that. But anyway, let's get out of here, man. Let's get out of here. Okay, with everybody, Just Do Boxing is up next. Appreciate everybody for coming through today. Pearl Sur, Thomas Hill, Ray Patterson, Azim Shabazz, Crush the Legend, Mike Rim, Miss Cass. I still say Ali dog walks Joe Frazier. Okay, but everybody have a great day. If it's Monday through Friday at 2 p.m., it's the Box Story bringing you all that boxing history. Tomorrow, the life and career of Canelo Alvarez on the profile.